Welcome to Destination Ideas Podcast. I'm your host, Jennifer Stein, and today we are talking about the top 20 tips for destination weddings with none other than the expert, Aimee Monihan. Aimee has been an event industry disruptor since the late 90s, although she looks like she's 30. She's most notably known for creating the first wedding planning company in Costa Rica and putting the region on the map for destination weddings. And I can attest to this. Like, she literally is known in the entire country. She speaks Spanish fluently, sometimes better than her own English. So she's always cracking jokes in Spanish, and she knows really how to just woo pretty much anyone over. She has 3 different companies and is the CEO of Destination Occasions, Tropical Occasions, which Tropical Occasions is for beach weddings in Costa Rica, Latin America, all throughout the world. And then also Mountain Occasions, which is based in the Rockies. And then she also has a company called Destination Desi, which includes weddings for South Asian couples. So welcome to the show. I'm so excited that you're here, Ames.
Hi. Hi, friend.
Hi, Fran. Okay, so listener, you should know, Aimee and I have been really, let's see, I think like over 12, 15 years we've been, I don't even know. I've lost count. She's one of my
Yes.
besties. And I'm just so excited that you're sharing your tips with our audience today. We're going to go 1 through 20, and these are her heavy hitters. And there's some things that I was like, when I was reading through these, I was like, why didn't I think of that? That's
Yeah.
genius. So,
So they're in no particular order. They're not like, like a countdown to the most important. I mean, maybe the last one's kind of most important, but I think they're just things after doing this for so many years that I've just kind of thought of that people should know when they're going to have a destination wedding. So they're just some little tidbits of knowledge to share with all couples thinking about this journey of getting married in another country or somewhere domestic, but still a
well, and I feel
destination.
like every one of these pretty much applies no matter where you're getting married.
International. So I think the biggest one is that then my clients ask this of me all the time is how do we get our stuff to the place? So bring any wedding supplies, anything with you in luggage. Do not mail things to your wedding destination unless it's domestic and it's close by, but do not trust international mail system ever.
And it
So
doesn't matter the country either, because like you could say that I've mailed things to the Dominican Republic and it never made it there. And
no,
luckily, it
yeah.
wasn't things that we needed for a photo shoot or a wedding. It was, you know, it was gifts for people, but literally never made it there.
Yeah, I mean, every country's different, but like a lot of them, they have to go through, like just like you as a human, when you get off a plane and you go through immigration, so does any piece of parcel that comes into a country. And so things can get held up. A lot of places don't have protection, like, as far as mail. So someone can open up that package and be like, oh, this is nice. I think I'll keep this. Or just the delays, things don't get there, And also, mailing things internationally is incredibly expensive. An extra piece of luggage is what, $50? So I always suggest, like, if you have a lot of loot, is what I'll call it, like papery, maybe like it's a candlestick color you couldn't find in the country you're going to, something just like random that you might want to bring. You can also spread it amongst like your wedding party, your families. So each person gets a little bit so that there's no problem with them coming into the country with a bunch of things because that's also, you can be stopped in customs if you bring too much stuff. So depending on the country. So I always say like, spread it amongst the people.
Well,
And
and the other thing with customs too is sometimes you have to pay a tariff
yeah,
on something you're bringing in from outside the country if it's over a certain dollar amount. So
yeah.
that can be like even more expensive if you're
Oh yeah.
putting it all in like your and your fiance's luggage. So I love the idea of like spreading it out with your wedding party
Spread it
because if
out.
one person
Don't
just has like a little section of their suitcase that they're carrying on that's devoted to you, like that's great. Just keep track of who has
I
what.
don't understand why couples don't utilize their family and friends more. I'm like, you need to like not take on all the burden yourself as the wedding couple. It's really truly about celebrating you. So ask for the favors, get the favors in check, and that means, hey, you are taking a suitcase full of candles to me for me to Mexico, wherever.
You're definitely going over that 50-pound weight limit. That's
Yes,
for sure.
exactly.
If you're bringing candles, you're
Yeah,
you're over 50 pounds. But that's the beauty of a carry-on is typically, depending on the area, they don't weigh that. So
no,
you might just need 3 people to help you get it in the overhead bin.
yes.
Yeah.
So that's number one. Number two is create a wedding website. I think this is kind of a no-brainer. You have to let people know how to get to your wedding. And so the wedding website kind of facilitates the travel portion, attending the wedding. We typically will do a save the date. So we use companies wide range of wedding website companies that exist out there. I Minted, it's free. You get to save the date, you get free wedding website. I think you mentioned one that I've used before.
Lovebird, yeah.
Lovebird, yeah, they're
Hmm.
great. So there's a lot of companies out there that you can get a wedding website from. And that wedding website, and if you have a wedding planner, they should help with this, but it should be like, everything from your room block codes to what airport you're flying into. Once you land at the airport, how do you get to the destination that the event is taking place? And then it's like, get them excited. Tell them about the activities that are available in the area. Give the schedule of events. And then if you have dress codes, make Pinterest boards so people know how to dress for the event. Don't say things like, beach glam chic. And they're like, what the hell does that mean? So make a Pinterest board that shows what you would like your guests to dress like at your events. If it's an all white party, or if it's colors that you want. I mean, a lot of people now, fashion's a huge part of weddings. And so the wedding website is a landing place for all information. So your guests really feel informed to attend your events, and it helps a lot. So it's an absolute cannot not do. You must do a wedding website. So
Do you have any like must do when it comes to your paper invitation with the wedding website? Like, do you think that they should include like a QR code or the actual like site name? Like, what do you suggest, especially when you're dealing with like older generations
yeah,
that may not
for that
understand a
reason, yeah.
QR code? Like, what
Yeah,
do you
I just,
suggest in those
yeah,
situations?
like my parents, they take a picture of it. Like, what am I supposed to do with it now? I'm like, okay, no, it's not how this works.
Oh God, yeah.
But so I would say it's save the date. We're getting married, the date, and then for more information, please visit our wedding website at. That's all you need. Like the save
Yeah.
the date should be the most simple thing. It's not an information piece in the papery, the
Mhm.
writing. It is
Yeah.
literally like getting hitched, date, location, wedding website. And
Yeah.
then people will just plug in that wedding, that URL, and then they will see all that information they need to find out about your wedding. And also was great for doing pre-RSVPs to get a good gauge of who can come and who can't come. And then a lot of times I'll tell my clients as well, have an A list and a B list, because a lot of times you have like a max amount that you can invite. So as soon as someone writes in and says, I'm so sad I have to miss this, I have a family reunion that same weekend, boom, person number one on the B list, you send that save the date to
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
So always get extra save the dates too. So you
And
can,
like, let's talk for a second about the B list. And I know this isn't like on our top 20 list, but I mean,
we're gonna go on
okay, so
tangents.
there's some like love and hate around the A and B list. Like, what are your feelings about it? Like, what are the pros and cons, I guess?
I mean, you have to be realistic. Like there is such things as max capacities at venues, and there's also something called max spending. People have budgets, right? And if people realize how much it costs to invite someone to a wedding, and this is one of the biggest things I do when I'm planning with my couples, is telling them not what an expected full budget is, but what the budget is per guest. So they
Mm,
really understand what it is to invite someone. I always like say, I'm sorry I have to have you monetize your friends and family, but you're gonna have to monetize your friends and family to truly understand what it is to budget for your wedding. So that helps you decide, like, hey, are we letting, our friends bring plus ones? Like, can we afford the
mm.
plus ones? So if we're doing a wedding and it's, $2,000 a guest, I mean, I don't know about you. I'm like, there's a lot of people that I know that I'm not spending $2,000 on.
And when she
So
says $2,000, that's for the overall wedding weekend. That's not just
yeah,
for dinner. That's the overall
that's yeah,
budget divided by the number of people. So some
yeah.
of you might be like, $2,000 for dinner. No, no, no.
Oh,
That's,
yeah. So
I
you
think
take,
that covers
yeah,
everything, right?
yeah, you take all these weddings that you've done and you kind of go and then you divide it by those guest counts to in each location, like, oh, let's say a Mexico wedding, a Costa Rica wedding, to get those kind of average prices of where things land. So we can give windows to people when they come to us. And since every country is different and what that, cost is to have a wedding in that location, it's just a really easy way for us to help them gauge, like, do I want Mexico? Do I want Costa Rica? Do I want, Argentina or Brazil, so you can give them kind of an idea of what the
Yeah.
costs are in those locations. So
Yeah.
that's one thing we do. But so the B list is important for that as well.
Yeah.
Um, and then just, it, everyone wants to invite everybody, but you can't afford everybody. And then also you can't, the spaces that you choose might not be able to fit everybody. So,
Yeah.
and if I was on a B list, I wouldn't care. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry for the tangent. I just love to talk about stuff like that as it comes up
Yeah.
because it's like those are things that a lot of people are like, I don't know, should I, shouldn't
Yes.
I? And like
It's
Amy's
uncomfortable, but
saying, do it
yeah.
because there's a lot of practical reasons to do it. So
Yes.
I'm glad you like expanded on that. Okay, what's number three?
Okay, number three was very important, travel insurance. I think we learned about this during the pandemic. People always ask about wedding insurance, and that's a very hard one to do internationally because a lot of big insurance companies won't cover weddings internationally. But travel insurance will cover travel, and that's a large part. Most for me as a wedding planner, if like something happened, like another pandemic or something like that, it was as we learned in the wedding industry, like we're all such passionate people about what we do that we definitely were like letting people rebook and go into a different date. But hotels, big corporations don't have those same rules. They're not small businesses that have hearts. Um, they're, airlines.
Amen to that.
Yeah. So I think travel insurance covers so much. And so I think that having travel insurance as you go into your wedding is important because you just never know what's going to happen. So I
Mm.
use Tearawick is a good one. I use that a lot when I was coming to COVID, and it's cheap.
So
It is
cheap.
not expensive. It's like $30 for like
Yeah.
your trip to be covered per person. It's great prices. So that's just like, I mean, don't even not do that. Like that's just like that should be number one. Get travel insurance.
Well, and honestly, like you had recommended it. We all did a big group
Yeah.
trip to Costa Rica for Amy's birthday a few
Yeah.
years ago. It was 2021.
2021. Yeah.
Yeah. And we all, and it was like during, like, you had to
That was
have your
still there.
vaccine card. Like, it was like we were still really in the thick of the pandemic. And you had said, like, it was a requirement in Costa Rica if you are going to travel that you will get travel insurance.
Yeah.
And the minute you said that, I was like, oh my God, this is going to cost a fortune because I'm thinking about like home insurance and just to get a
Yeah.
rider on like a piece of art or a piece of jewelry or something like that can be
Not at
so
all.
expensive. And so I'm like, how much is this going to cost? And it was like, $20. Like it
Yeah. It's
wasn't,
not.
and it was so straightforward and easy. And then unfortunately, a few people did end up having to use it. And thank God they
Yeah.
required
Covers
that we had
everything.
it. And
Yeah.
now, anytime because of you, this is why I'm
Yeah.
like, if I ever like do a vow renewal or like, God forbid something happens to my husband and I get remarried, like you're going to be
Oh,
planning my
it's good for the
everything.
long
Like,
haul.
you are just, you're so good. Like you think of all this stuff that no one else thinks about. And because of you, like now when we do photo shoots, we never go without travel insurance ever because it's easy. You don't even have to think about
Yeah,
it
things
once
don't
you've
they get
had it.
the loss in the sauce, right? But like it's so important. So yeah.
Exactly. All right. What's number 4?
Okay, so number four is and this is like another one I think a lot of people already do, but I take it even a step further. Just carry on every single item that you are going to be using on your wedding day. So your dress, your accessories, your veil, your shoes, like everything, if you can fit. It's like a lot of times brides will get like an ability to carry their dress on in a carry-on bag. So a lot of salons they will pack a dress and like stuffing and the hanging things you can hang at the first class cabin. But people love love. And so they're always willing to help a bride with her dress. They're just
Yeah.
like, oh, you're getting married. Oh, so cute. But this is the same thing for if it's two brides, if it's two grooms, whatever you're wearing on your wedding day, it should be packed in your luggage that you have in your hands as you go to your country that you're going to get married in.
Yeah.
Because God forbid, that you get your luggage lost. And I mean, it happens.
Oh
Things
yeah.
happen.
It
I was
definitely
just on a fan
happens.
trip and one of our attendees, Bob Conti, who I love, who's a wedding designer,
Love Bob.
his luggage never made it. And so he was like shopping at the gift shops. He looked great, but it was like, and it was only a 4-day trip and his luggage got there the last day.
Well, and gift shops, it's like, oh, you want a pair of underwear? That'll be $75. Like airport gift shops are like the most expensive place to shop,
We were
I
all these
think,
like
ever in
high-end
the world.
hotels. He was like, I spent more money on clothes on this trip than I have
Yeah,
all
send that
year.
bill to the airline and be like, thanks for letting me go shopping. Well, and then you had another good little like aside to this about a travel steamer. So can you
Oh
like
yeah. So
expand on that?
yeah, yes. So I, having worked all over the world, like you have to remember, like these might be high-end hotels, but people that might work in like these laundry departments don't understand fabrics. They're not professional dry cleaners. And so it's really important that you deal with your clothing. Like I don't send it out to be sent to the housekeeping department. Hey, can you see my dress? Well, if your dress has any silk in it, it can ruin it. Like there's
Yeah.
just a lot of things that you got to be very careful of. So, having your bridal salon, first of all, pack it the right way. And then the next thing is bring a really good travel steamer that you use. And then you can
Mhm.
also live to your wedding party and all that. But I would never trust a housekeeping department
No.
with your wedding clothes.
Yeah.
Like not even. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
We
another way to like, utilize like, and a lot of time, like it's in our, the luxury part of our industry, there are, a lot of stylists now that will travel to weddings and they will take care of all that stuff for you. So if you have the budget to do that, you can do that. You could ask when it's available locally. Some planners, I think, offer this service, or this is where moms come in handy.
I love it. Okay. Let's
Okay, so
talk
then
about
next one
number
is for
five.
grooms. I think we talk about brides a lot, right? We don't
Yeah.
talk about things that grooms should do. And for places that are warm, I always, and this is actually not even just warm, it's kind of a nice thing to have, is like telling my grooms always to bring an extra shirt. And that is because I can't tell you how many grooms have sweat through that shirt. You know, I mean, you're in the tropics or you're in somewhere warm and a guy's in a suit. Like I felt bad sometimes I felt bad for my Indian brides because they're wearing literally like
Oh,
40 pounds of clothing.
it's
But
so heavy. Yeah.
grooms in the tropics and they're in like a collared shirt and like a suit jacket, like it's insane. So if you have an undershirt as well as overshirt, or bring them both, you know,
Just bring
nothing
both.
like changing
Okay.
them both because if you have that undershirt and you put on a new fresh overshirt, but the undershirt's sweaty, like yuck. So,
Right.
but
Like
I do a
putting,
lot of
clean
first
over
looks.
underwear over
Yeah,
dirty ones. Like you want
yeah,
to just start fresh.
no, you. But I've had a lot of grooms that have told me like they're like that tidbit was like so great because like I sweated during the first look in all our photos, and then I went back before the ceremony or before reception, changed into the new shirts, and I felt like I'd taken a shower. It was like so nice to put on
Oh,
fresh, clean,
yeah.
dry clothing. So just a really simple one, but yeah. Worth and also you never know, maybe a stain, you know what's gonna happen. Just bring an extra shirt.
Just
Two.
bring an extra shirt. Yeah, that's brilliant. I love
Yeah.
it. Okay, we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when we get back, we're going to finish the last tips here. So give us a second and we'll be back.
Are you looking for the perfect vendors to help you perfect your wedding away? Well, look no further than destinationido.com. From our homepage, simply click Find a Vendor, choose your vendor type in your destination, and hit Go. From there, you can view the vendors available to you, learn a little bit more about them, view their past work, or even go directly to their website. So you can take the guesswork out of finding your perfect vendors. Go to destinationido.com/vendors.
And we are back with Aimee Monihan, and we are talking about the top 20 tips for your destination wedding. And I'm so glad that she's here because I'm already like learning things. I've been doing this for 20 years and I'm learning things. So that means you're going to learn a lot. So let's go with number 6. We've gone through 1 through 5. So if you need to go back and write some notes, we will be here when you're ready. But number 6, what's your number 6?
So this is one that I actually like. I've had so many people tell me that their planners or the venue they've chosen don't do this for them, and so I'm like, well, you got it done on your own. You have to look at sunset times, tides, and these are so important because your lighting for your photos for the whole entire day and the timeline should revolve around that sunset time. You want to have your ceremony typically about like an hour before sunset, so or an hour and a half before sunset, so that their photographer, when those shots are doing post ceremony, get those sunset shots, but you get what we call the golden hour. And in a lot of places, especially if you're close to the equator, it's more like a golden 20 minutes or a golden 30 minutes. So you don't get a full hour. So really looking at the timing of lighting is really important to plan out what photography is going to be like for your timing of your event. And then the second tier of that is tides. Like I have heard just horror stories about people who get married on beaches and they didn't check their tides and their ceremonies are like in water. And not even just the tides, you have to look at the moon. Where are we in their moon pattern? Are we in a full moon? Like, I mean, surfers do this. So this is like, these are actually surfing sites that you look at like tides on. And so if you have a full moon, then even like like an 8.5 tide is going to feel like almost like a 10 because
Mm,
the tides just are stronger during full moon. So making sure you look at your tide charts, making sure you look at your sunset times and working around that information. It is
mhm,
so important to how you plan out where, when it's a lot of times on any beach event, we immediately look at tide charts the minute someone gives us a date. And we're
mm,
like, okay, this is your tide chart on your wedding day. You want to have a sunset wedding. Well, you don't have a beach.
mm.
So you gotta like look at those details. It's really important. So
Well, and oftentimes if there's no beach, there could be like a oceanfront lawn that
yeah,
keeps you out of the water, out of the sand, out of all the things, but you still get the beauty
yeah.
of that destination that you're hoping for. And quite honestly, like I know this might be an unpopular like opinion, but I don't love beach weddings, like
Yeah.
where I'm actually on the sand. It's hard to walk in heels half the time. You have to take your shoes
Many
off
clients.
entirely.
Yeah.
And if you have straps on, you're like in a tight dress trying to like take, your shoes off. It's obnoxious. And then
Yeah.
like you've got like elderly guests that might not feel
Yes.
super stable on their feet. Like I'm not the biggest
Hawaii is
fan of
great
like
for
a
that.
beach
Hawaii has
wedding.
like big grass lawns, those
Yeah.
like amazing that go, and then the beaches in the distance, right? But they're like that, they have that down. They've figured that out how to do it. Like I think other places like Mexico, Costa Rica, where you really truly are on the sandbar of a
Mhm.
beach. And you're like, and also sand's hot too. So yeah,
Yeah. And it
we do kind of
reflects. So like
bathe.
you're getting like blinded. So yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. And okay, so another thing too, what do you think about researching the destination for like if they have local holidays or local traditions? Like I know in Bangkok they have like this thing in May where it's like a water festival where in Bangkok they like throw flour and like spray people with water and like it's really fun and but it's crazy and
Yes.
so there's different things around the world. Like what do
Even
you
beyond that, elections, is something going
yeah.
on politically in the country? Are there going to be strikes?
Mhm.
Is it hurricane season? I mean, there's so much to research on every level of each location you choose. But yeah, I mean, like holidays is a big one because not everyone celebrates the holidays we celebrate, right? So a big one that is in Latin America that people always need to take into consideration is Semana Santa, which is Holy Week. Um,
Mm.
which we do celebrate in the United States. It's the week before Easter, right? But it is such a huge week for the locals to actually vacation themselves. I mean, Costa Rica, for
Okay.
example, and Mexico too. Like I think, like in Costa Rica, they don't even have like the news sometimes. Like the country closes down, and
Wow.
you just cannot. And also, so they don't sell liquor, so you can't have booze. I think it's like from like Friday all the way through the Sunday. So like if your wedding's on a Saturday or in Semana Santa, Holy Week, it's hard to get alcohol. So those kind of things are super important. So again, hiring somebody who is familiar with your destination, having worked there before, or asking locals, is there anything going on my date that I should be aware of
Yeah.
politically, the holidays that I would have any like effect on my wedding? Or even like, let's say like the town, like, so I work a lot in Aspen and it's a huge destination. We have a lot of big events that come through Aspen in the summertime, food and wine, Ideas Fest. And so having weddings on those weekends, it's not like it's going to affect your wedding, but it is sure going to affect your lodging costs. So your lodging costs are going to be twice as much because everybody's at really, really high occupancy rates. And so they're not going to give good group rates. And so
Right.
there's so much trickle down on a date. So asking all the right questions to make sure that whatever's revolving around that date you choose is pointing positive and not negative.
Let me
So
ask you this. Are you in favor of or not of like American holidays, like people doing their destination wedding on like Thanksgiving weekend
I, I am.
or New Year's Eve? You are?
So yes, some and some others not. It's going to cost your guests more because your airline fares are going to be higher, but people have time off. The one I will
Mhm.
absolutely, try and avoid is New Year's Eve because it's just three times. I mean, like that travel week between Christmas to like New Year's is one of the most expensive times of the year to go anywhere in the
Mhm.
world.
Yeah.
And so avoiding that time is always good. And if you do really want it and you have this dream of a New Year's Eve wedding and, confetti dropping and balloons and whatever, fireworks, just be prepared budget wise to cover that time of year. But I'm not
Yeah.
completely opposed, but just remember the people you're hiring to service your event are human and have families. And so if they charge more, it's because they're being asked to take away time from their holiday, their time off with their families. And so understanding that that is why things cost more and not being frustrated by it is going to help a lot. But I can't tell you how many events I've done over a Thanksgiving weekend or, you know, I think holidays that are good are like extra bonus days,
Hmm.
President's Day, Martin Luther King Day, there's that extra Monday where there's no school and it's like just like a good holiday weekend. Those are really good.
Yeah. I agree because I feel like if you're doing like Indigenous Peoples Day, like kids
Yeah.
have school off, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And like you have that extra time. It falls in like when the weather is a little bit more like a shoulder season in loads of places where it's not quite
Yes.
as hot as like,
Yeah.
July in Cancun where you're
Yeah.
literally like you're sweating in places you didn't know you could sweat. Like if you do it, in October, you're like, you're going to get a better climate, better rates. You still have that extra day off school for kids if you're including them. So that's
Yeah.
really helpful
And summer
information.
months are always hard too because that's family travel time. So
Yeah.
you don't have a buyout of the hotel. You can't get mad if it's a all ages hotel and there's a kid screaming in the pool at your ceremony site. Summertime.
I'm a fan of like, well, I shouldn't say this. I love my kids. I don't love all kids. Like, I
Hey,
love
I'm a mom.
children in general, like the idea of children, but
Yeah,
like when they're there, when I'm trying to like enjoy a serene moment by the pool and there's like
yeah.
kids splashing and
That's
like
why
dunking
most
their
resorts
chicken
don't have
nuggets in the
adult
pool,
pools.
I'm like, no. Where's the kid center for you to go scream
Yes,
over there?
exactly. They're very
Yeah.
smart mothers.
I know. I know. It's part of it anyway. Okay, what's number 7?
Okay, number 7 is another very important was noise ordinances. People think they can go all night because they're ready to party, but like every single place I've worked has different rules. And this is law. This isn't like, the hotel saying it. Like a lot of countries have like an actual legal noise ordinance that exists within the country. So no, volume, they'll give you like you can't be above this decimal, or you can't have anything amplified in open air. So finding out where the venue is that you've chosen, like what is the noise ordinance with that location. And if there is noise ordinances, then work with the venue, work with your planner to maybe have an after party spot that's indoors. So you move everybody to like an indoor, like an after party, a noise controlled environment. People have this thing about like when they're like in the outdoors, they're like, I just want to be in the outdoors my whole entire time. I'm like, it's dark. No one knows you're outdoors. Go inside, get in the AC.
You're so right. It's like when you can't see anymore, like just it's
It's
fine.
just
And then you have temperature control and everybody's happy.
I'm
Yeah.
telling you, taking an after party after being outside, like on the beach or, on a grass lawn over the beach in the elements, and then you take people inside to that air conditioning, talk about a mood lifter. People are like,
Right?
"Let's go." It's like take them aside, you've taken the temperature down to like 60 degrees and they're just in heaven. So
And then you feed them some after party food of like,
yes,
mini
like a shot.
cheeseburgers and
Yeah, with
like little
McFlurry fries, and they're like,
milkshakes.
let's go.
Yeah, that's my kind of party. Like bring me to the AC, give me some like slippers to put my like uncomfortable feet into and then give me some food. It's great. Best
Yes,
parties ever. And people will most likely stay longer because if
100%.
it's if
Yeah,
they're hot or cold and uncomfortable and they're
all the above.
chances are they're going to be like peace out, like I'm done.
I can't tell you how many times I've physically witnessed people be like, okay, I guess we'll go to the after party. And then they go, and they're like, oh my God, it's air conditioned in here. And then they just start dancing and they start out, and then they're going till 2 in the morning. People
Yeah,
that were
because
ready
think
to go
about
to
it.
their
If
rooms.
you're dancing, you're getting your own temperature level up. And if you're doing that in a hot climate, you're
Mhm.
going to be like, where's the swimming pool?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
very good point. I never really thought of it that way, but you're absolutely right. Like the best parties I've been to, it's usually they move things indoors. And typically it's like right around where things can go one direction or the other. It's
Yeah.
like right around 10 o'clock. And that's usually
Yeah.
when the noise ordinance kicks in, depending on the
Yes.
destination. So it's like
Oh,
the perfect timing. Yeah. Love it.
yes. Okay. Another really important one. So like I when I help clients find venues and like where to have their wedding, I think the most important thing you can do when finding a venue is to create this feeling of togetherness. And so you want to always check with hotels. And if you like, so if you're choosing a hotel that's really on the higher end of price spectrum for rooms, what are the rules at that resort for guests coming to hang out with you? Can they come during the day and hang out at the beach with you? Um, Go to your pool, your beach, or is it completely locked down? They can't come on site unless it's the event day. So if someone's traveled thousands of miles to come be with you on your wedding weekend, and the only time they get to see you is the 4 hours that your reception's taking place and the 1 hour of ceremony time, it doesn't have enough, uh, I would say like, it's
FaceTime. Like there's not enough FaceTime. Yeah.
yeah, don't do it. It's rude, and it's not good to your guests. And even if you are in love with a venue, look for something that's like maybe like close by where everyone can stay, that's right next door. And then you figure out a place that you go there as the bride and groom, or the groom and groom, bride and bride, where the couple will go hang out with people at that place. But finding out what the rules are revolving around lodging and accessibility to venues is massive. You do not want to not be accessible to your wedding guests. They're there for you.
And
So
I also think too, like I've learned that certain properties, say in Mexico, that are all inclusive, like you can get day passes that you
day
pay
pass, yes,
for. And
yes,
trust me, if the
Much.
resort's like, hey, we're going to get additional revenue to let certain people in the door. They have wristbands or whatever, and you have to pay a certain fee in order to allow them to experience the amenities of your all-inclusive resort for the day or whatever. And you're able to like be really inclusive, then that may be an option for you.
Yes, but
So
it's not cheap. That's very
it's
expensive.
not cheap. It's
And who's
not cheap.
covering that
Yeah.
cost? The person who's decided to stay off site to save money, but now they have to pay to do that, or
Yeah.
you as the host having to take on that cost.
Yeah.
So very important to research that and
Very
not
important.
place that's not accessible.
Yeah. And I will even say, like, I'm noticing because I live in Arizona and in Scottsdale, like
Same.
certain times of the year, especially around because we have Barrett Jackson here, we have spring training. So, like, there's certain Scottsdale
Resorts
and Phoenix luxury
are,
hotels that have like epic pools that you have to have a wristband or you have to pay a, like an actual, you can go through like Resort Pass and get
yeah,
access to those pools, but they are monitoring them because
yeah.
and so it's like that's happening here in Scottsdale. I can't imagine what it's like at some of those other like areas too.
Also, it's a good thing to ask too of the venue once you've booked, if you're a smaller group and it's a pretty big resort, what other events are taking place on that resort on your event weekend? So
Hmm.
like, is there a corporate group in house, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and hotels, obviously they're excited for your business, but they have to take care of every single guest, even the guest that's calling at 9:30 complaining about your noise, and they have to wait another 30 minutes before the noise goes off, you know, like every
Yeah.
single guest is important to them, even if you are bringing them, you know, a nice chunk of a room block of room nights that what you and your wedding guests are staying in, they still have to placate to every single person in there that's lodging in their resort. So finding out what else is happening on that resort during your weekend so you're prepared. So
What about vendors? So like being able to bring guests on, but like bringing outside vendors, should they ask about that too?
yeah, so some resorts will have like their vendor list, and and they will actually say on there like, to work with anything off this list, it's this much per like vendor. Um, Depending again on the location. So like we worked in St. Lucia, for example, and in St. Lucia, they don't have as many like on island vendors that might be available. So we brought in a lot of goods and services like photography. So just like looking to see what's available in country. And then with the resorts, like, is there a fee that has to be paid? So we were doing events during the tail end of 2020. We had one in St. Lucia, and the island was like super, super strict. And we actually, the photographer who the bride had booked, gave her a rate because she was going to stay in an Airbnb and, you know, whatever. And then they were like, no, no person, once you got on the island, you had to go straight to your resort. Once you proved that you didn't have COVID, you showed all your forms and stuff, and you were not allowed to leave that resort. You could not go on a
What?
tour. You could not leave the resort. And so the
That's
photographer
nuts.
and the room rates were quite high. And so for me as a planner, I'm like, I'm going to be on the grounds where the event's taking place because I'm running back and forth, and you might want me to shower before your ceremony. Just saying. Um,
Be like, what is that? Who is that?
But this person was trying to save this person to get hired to save them money. And so then in the long run, the bride and groom had to shell out for a room for this photographer, and which was quite expensive. It was at the Viceroy in St. Lucia, beautiful property. And we didn't know that. And that was like we got that rule that the photographer was like, okay, now just to say that, I think it was like an extra like $5,000 in order for her to be at the wedding. Like, it's a big chunk of money, right? So finding out the rules, obviously, and like that's what, as you're booking, these things are like so important. So I know when working with a resort, I will tell my clients immediately straight up all the rules that are around the weddings, and this is one of them. But I think that as far as like if vendors are coming to the resort, that's not a problem. That's another thing a planner should do. You have to do these security lists, and the security lists are like name of the vendor, the car they're driving, their license plate, their identification number. I mean, it's like Fort Knox
Your
candy.
blood type.
Yeah, almost like, yeah.
Well, that's so interesting. Yeah. Okay, number 9. I
Yes.
love this one. This might be my favorite one because I feel like it just goes along with
Good.
why people are doing destination weddings in the first place. So take it away.
I'm incredibly passionate about this one, which is celebrate the culture of your chosen location. Um, People that, yeah, that get married in a country, but then try and, you know, North Americanize it, which is, I mean, Mexico is North America, but like make it back home, you know, it's
Yeah.
like you've chosen to go somewhere that's different. So celebrate that difference in food and drinks and the style of the wedding, do something that really shows people why you chose this location, And so like I always say, like I have that opening night, the first welcome party, make it a celebration of the culture you're in.
Yeah.
Don't bring in like gifts and things like that. Like go to the local markets. I love going on like inspection trips. I'll go to local markets and try and find things to implement into the wedding designs. You're also, this is another thing that the B side of this that is I'm very passionate about is like you're choosing this country in which to host your event. You need to spend money in that country and
Yeah.
support them economically and the beautiful things they have to offer for your wedding versus like, I mean, there's so many planners that are bringing crates of things to locations. And I understand if there's like, something like a chair available, but utilize the local talent as much as you can. So like I'll bring a florist in that wants a certain style. They will always subcontract locals, and we will always, always, always support local talent in some way. So we're giving back to these countries that we're honored to be working in, and
Yeah.
it's just a huge thing for me. So you cannot celebrate the country in which you've chosen enough, in my opinion.
Yeah, I
So
could not agree more. And as a fellow small business owner, and I know you are as well, like a lot of who you're supporting when you go to these countries are small business owners. It's
very
like
much.
that's how
Yeah.
they make their money is like creating beautiful artisan pieces that you can give as a favor instead of some like crappy thing you found at like Michael's or
I know.
Joann's Fabrics. Like nobody wants that. People want like the local
Yeah.
food, the local flair, like something that they
Yeah.
can take home that's a souvenir, but not like a souvenir from the airport, like a
I would
souvenir
say like
from
gift
a
bags.
cool little
I always
market.
make, yeah, make your gift bag if you're doing something nice for your guests, make it like what they didn't have time to go shopping for.
Yeah, I
So,
love that. Okay, I love every single one of these, but number 10 is also a really good one. So what's
yeah,
that?
there was just this thing, there was like online today, I reposted a bunch of stuff about things that are like that wedding guests hate. And this was one of the ones that wedding guests say they hate. Don't overschedule the weekend. Like, I know you think you're being hospitable by constantly having these events for your guests, but they're going to a destination. This is kind of a vacation for them as well. So let them have some free time, like don't, I mean, like I allow my clients to do it. I tell them every time I wouldn't suggest it, but like, don't do a brunch.
No.
Nobody wants to wake up 8:30 a.m. with a hangover to go say goodbye to your goddamn grandma. Like no one
Yeah.
cares. They don't need a free breakfast that bad. They want to
Yeah,
sleep
and
and
if you're gonna spend the
want to
money on
be.
it, send them
Yeah,
a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich to their room
exactly.
with a strong cup of coffee and some
I
Advil
have done
and
that
like get
many
real.
times. Hanging the thing on the door when they come home that night, they turn down. It's like breakfast is on us tomorrow morning.
Yes,
You at the
yeah.
pool whenever you get there. That's what you want to do. Allow people to have some free time and, really don't overschedule. Overscheduling,
Mhm.
you think you're being hospitable, and what you're doing is you're making people not have breathing space in
Yeah,
this beautiful location you've chosen.
I could
So,
not agree more. Yes. Yes to all of it.
yes,
Okay,
yeah.
what's number 11?
Oh, I think that I touched upon this actually, and the other one was be accessible. And
Mm-hmm.
so, again, this goes back to scheduling as well. I mean, they're there to spend time with the couple who are getting married, right? So don't make yourself unaccessible. And not even mean like scheduling, like, like it's the day everyone's arriving and you've decided that's your spa day and you're going to be gone all day in the spa.
Yeah.
Where, where's Jen? I'm here for her wedding. Oh, she went to a spa day offsite. She'll be back tonight at 8 p.m.
Can
Okay,
you
I'm sorry.
imagine? Like, do it way before people get there or
Yes.
after. You're gonna need it after. So, like, if you're
Yeah.
gonna like schedule a spa day, do it after
Yeah.
the wedding.
We show up early, we get everything, like we do like walkthroughs and like make sure everything's good to go so that once the guests start arriving, our clients are free and clear of any kind of stress and they then become a guest themselves. And that's where you want to be. You want to become the guest the weekend of your wedding so that your guests are guests with you and you're not worried about anything, not being accessible to them, off doing something that doesn't make them be able to find you. I mean, like be accessible to your guests. Okay, so this next one is like, and I think all the photographers, if anyone's listening, will be very happy that I'm obsessed with photography. I mean, it is beyond the marriage itself. It's one of the most tangible things you walk away after the wedding date,
Totally.
right?
Yeah.
And this is, I mean, like any good planner will take care of this, and your photographer will get involved as well. But lighting is everything, I mean, to a photographer. And so a lot of people will have these like grandeur, like ideas of how they want their days to run and stuff, but they're never thinking about the lighting. So a lot of times they'll like be like, "Oh, we're gonna do a first look at noon." I'm like, and you're like, "Okay, do you know what the sun is like at noon?" It's like if I could just like it's like over the head, and you're blown out, you don't look good, you're sweating, and the photographer, and I don't care who the photographer is, they're gonna have a hard time getting good shots when that lighting is that
Yeah.
harsh. And so making sure that as that timing is coming, and if you don't have a planner who works with photography schedules and understands lighting, discuss it with your photographer, making sure that you understand how the timing and the lighting will affect your photos and the whole flow of the entire day.
Mhm.
So just making sure that you understand if you're gonna do a first look, let's like just it's just so important. I guess like I'm obsessed with it, like to make sure. And so I actually when I will get hired and we start our kind of like our timelines are pretty based upon like the locations we work in, knowing about we've been doing this for a long time. So knowing about what the sun patterns are, um, what it's like the time of day we need to do something, I will immediately call the photographer, knowing they're hired for 10 hours and they're going to do a first look and talk it through with them before we even, commit to a timetable.
I love that you take that extra step because honestly, I don't think couples think the first thing about lighting, right? And
Yeah.
it's like, you're so right. At noon, everything looks washed out, not just you. So, like the colors of your destination, like everything looks blown out.
Yeah.
And you forget getting those, like
Listen
if
to your
you,
pictures.
yeah. And you're like trying to squint and it's never good.
Another thing people don't understand, clouds are your friend.
They're your best friend. It's
It's
like a
kind of like the
natural, it's
filters.
nature's diffuser.
Yeah, it's kind of like, a filter that's on like, Snapchat and makes your skin look all perfect.
Yeah.
If there's clouds in the sky, your photographer is like, yes, because
Yeah.
it's just
Not
like this
rain, but
filter on
clouds.
your, yeah.
Yeah.
So don't be upset, like, where's my bright blue sky of sun? No, celebrate those clouds. I think even just in photography in general, I bring the photographer into all discussions. I look at every event we do, with design especially, like, where is the placement of something? What is that going to look like? Where are toasts happening? Like tents have to have those ugly like exit signs that are in their doorways, and like nothing should ever be where that's in the background. So
Mhm.
photography is huge to me, and I have great relationships with photographers because of this. I really take it to heart when planning, designing, and executing.
Well, and I feel like you're actually taking a stressor off of them. And anytime you're doing that with a vendor, you're going to have a better relationship with them because you're thinking about the end product from
Yeah,
their eyes versus what suits your timeline and what's most convenient to you. You're
yeah,
thinking about the client and what's going to be the best for the client, the couple getting the most beautiful photos that they can get, and
yeah.
that it's everybody wins. Your number 13 is keep your room clean for bridal party pics. So tell us about that.
So, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've walked into a bridal party room and it's like, it's scary. You got like boob tape, like casings and Spanx over here and dry cleaner bags. And you're
Bobby
just like,
pins
what
everywhere
the
like
hell is happening
confetti.
here? Um, there's pictures taking place in that room. And so I always say, like, tell your girls to come over. If you're going to get them a cute little outfit or little robes, have them wear just that, bring their dresses over, get rid of any plastic bags immediately, so things are hung nicely for the photographer. We will go in as a wedding planning company and definitely make sure the room looks nice, and then give a little extra to the bridal parties, like make sure that your stuff is like all, in a nice little, compartmentalized area over there or wherever we might have them put their stuff.
Yeah.
But you just, when you get those pictures back and you wanted this picture of you getting ready with all your girlfriends and your room looks like a hot mess, you're going to be so upset. I have had to do this many times. And so I know this from experience that as much as we love our friends and our girlfriends and, our families, whatever, I always tell my brides, let's have a escape room. Let's have a space in
Escape
which
room.
an escape room. Because, I mean, getting ready with like 10, sometimes 15 women. And even if there's amazing makeup and hair artists there's a lot of questions being thrown at you and things happen. And so, people are nervous on their wedding day. They have the nerves, they've got the jitters, or they're just like, there's a lot of attention on them. And so people who don't really like a lot of attention, this is a really good one. So I always talk to the makeup hair teams beforehand about this, that we have a space in which we're going to retreat to if she's feeling anxious on any level. So if you're getting ready, like in the living room of a space, like maybe you have your room and then you have one or two people that know.
I
So
think that's so important because it's not like you said, it's not just like your best friends that are there.
yeah.
Oftentimes it's family members that can be really triggering.
Yep.
Maybe you have a
Oh yeah.
passive aggressive aunt who just has to say something about your
And
dress
those
or
are
your
makeup schedules are all about that. Like, I want to get ready,
yes.
not this person. And I'm like, well, I can't tell her she has to leave,
Right, right, right. Yeah. And
So
I mean, I've personally been in the room when stuff like that starts happening. And I'm like, I never would have thought to have a separate space to
yes.
retreat to as an escape room. That's genius. Yeah.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Um,
Okay.
the next one, our favorite topic, housekeeping.
Yeah. So I always, in my banquet event orders within my hotels, I will always add housekeeping notes for what I want to happen in these rooms. So when they first wake up, before hair and makeup begins, housekeeping comes in and they clean up the room. Once they've all left to go to ceremony, housekeeping comes in and cleans up the room. So you have to make sure that you plan these things during the time. And so your planner can do this, or you can do it with the hotel directly, but you want to schedule your housekeeping times accordingly around the schedule that is happening, because there's a lot happening. And I cannot tell you how many rooms I have cleaned on a wedding night. Because like I go in, I love to take their cards and put them all over their bed so they can make love on money. But
Oh
but
my
when we
God.
go and drop off their stuff, a lot of
That's
times, a lot of
brilliant.
our clients will go to an after party and we have like the veil thing. So we'll go into their room and their room looks like a tornado hit it. And I'm like, I can't have my couples coming back to this room. This is awful. And so the person that I am, and if turn down wasn't planned, or a lot of time, a huge one is do not ever put a do not disturb sign on your door. If you do that when you're not in your room, it is illegal for the hotel to come into your room. It's called a D&D, and it means like they are not allowed to, that is your room, it's private. They cannot bring anything into your room. They can't make a delivery. They're not allowed to clean your room. So if you have that sign up on your door, then you're not getting any service.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Number 16, I particularly appreciate because I live in Arizona and you live in Colorado, which are the two most like dry places on earth and maybe like, the
yeah,
same
I
with the
mean,
desert.
yeah, hydration. I can't say enough. Being if you're drinking the night before, stay hydrated. I mean, like this huge trend now, like these like IV things for wedding parties. At
Yeah.
first, I was like, this is ridiculous. I'm like, "Gosh, this is kind of genius. They all look amazing." So, um, we work in Aspen a lot. So our wedding location, I work in a lot of the Little Nell, which is a great venue. It has that beautiful wedding deck that is iconic and world famous, and it's at almost 15,000 feet above sea level. It's up there.
Yeah.
So and hydration is key to not getting altitude sickness.
Hmm.
So we have oxygen machines and oxygen lounges, but like we have, and our bar signs will always say, one drink equals two at high altitude.
Hmm.
But even at the beach, the sun, I had a wedding in Los Cabos and I had people falling like flies. I had like a triage room where I had IVs going because people were partying so much the day before. We had a pool party and they were in the sun all day drinking alcohol, and then went to like the welcome rehearsal dinner party. And so it was like a full day of drinking. And so on wedding day, people woke up and people were like, they had dehydration and they were vomiting. And I mean, like I had my groom on an IV
Oh,
45 minutes before he walked down the aisle. And then at the
oh,
reception, like six people it was like, it's like literally
oh my.
triage room. It was like this rags with like blood and water because the bride like I had to put the bride on IV. And so, I mean,
God.
yeah. So hydration is like so important. And so I can't say enough about stay hydrated. You
Yeah.
want to party, but party responsibly and
Yeah.
make sure you.
Another little good, like if you are going to do a turn down service for your guest the night of the wedding or like one of the nights that you're there, like give them
Yeah.
those like liquid
Hydration packs.
IV packs where you
Yeah.
can just like drink. I can't tell you how many times those things have rescued me
Yeah.
after like, because I suffer from migraines. So like even if the barometric pressure changes, like those
Yeah.
liquid IV packs can help with stuff like that or a hangover or
Yeah.
whatever.
We do a lot of
So
hangover cure packs, like what we'll give out
yes.
like the first party, like that has that in there, has the Aspen, the Alka-Seltzer,
Yep.
Tums, whatever you might be needed for a person to make it to the next day. So,
Yeah, it's a marathon, not a sprint, people. Come on. Let's get it together.
so this is a big one I always tell my clients because I think that, what is it, there's a Paul McCartney said you can't keep all the people happy all the time or whatever. I don't know, something like that, like some Beatles quote. But food and beverage, people trying to plan their meals around everybody else's needs. I'm like, no, 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 no.
Because
Those things
everybody
are
has an allergy or a preference or something.
yeah,
And I'm not trying to like disparage people with allergies because I have a son with allergies. And let me tell you, it can be a real pain in the neck sometimes. But like you
many
can't
people deal
plan
with
around
that.
everyone. It's
Yeah.
impossible to.
So I say plan your food and beverage for what you want to eat and what you want to drink. So you're really supposed to that's what a signature cocktail is. It's like, well, what will everyone like to drink? No, 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 no. What do you want to drink? What is your drink that you are going to enjoy on your day, And same thing with the dinner. So like, let's say, you're a steak eater, but you're like, oh, but a lot of my friends are vegetarians. Who cares? Serve the steak. They will get the vegetarian meal, because the hotel will offer, or the venue will offer, the caterer will offer an option to those people. But really, really, really plan your food and beverage about what makes you excited to eat at your wedding. I love menu planning with clients. I love, love, love. I do a lot of, okay, where's there a place that you guys eat on a, regular basis? It's romantic to you. Let's like think of an appetizer that you always share. Bring in something that's the part of the love story, and have that be on your menu. So make your food and beverage really about your relationship, your culture. Like if you're coming from a different culture, and like family recipes. I love to plan food and beverage around something that has to do it on a personal level to these couples. Since you are constantly being pulled in so many different directions by people with food and beverages, a really nice thing is to put in a little bit of time for just the two of you. So like when guests go into the reception, I always like to hold back my bride and groom and I make them a big old plate of all the appetizers, freshly brought out. They're each of their signature cocktails. And so they just have a moment to just sit there and eat that food, drink that drink they chose, and have just a reflection before they walk into that reception with their guests. And so I
good.
love to sneak and put that time into the timing so they have that moment alone to enjoy each
Okay, if
other.
time travel is a thing,
Yeah.
I'm going to travel back to August 2005, and you are going to be my wedding planner because I ate like one of the appetizers. I tried all night to get a decent buzz. I was sober like from start to finish. Like we never even got to eat our cake. Someone actually stole our cake topper. It's a long story. It's still to this day it's a mystery as to where it ended up. I never got to eat our cake. So yeah, well, no, I shouldn't say never. I got that initial bite, but I didn't really get to eat much of it. But so if time travel is a thing, I'm gonna travel back in time and Aimee Monihan from
This is my
Tropical.
next, I'm saying like do this thing with food and beverage. And then my next one is like, it's like I'm back and forth on these things. This next one's important too. Don't overfeed your guests.
Yeah, no one wants a food coma. Like,
If you want people to party and dance and they've just eaten like a 4-course meal, they had like, 10 past appetizers or appetizer, cocktail hour. It's this fine line of like, where's too much and where's too little that you have to, right? And I always say like, have enough for like people who are not big eaters. And like, so cocktail hour, I'm always like, 5 is a good number of past apps, of a style, stations. I mean, like people that go crazy in those cocktail hours and then they have to go sit down at a seated meal. I'm like, I would, I don't eat like, especially in a heated place, like a
yeah,
tropical. People just don't eat as much, right? Because it's hot, you're more liquids. But yeah, you don't want to overfeed people to the point that they're just like, I am not dancing. I'm going to vomit.
Okay, number 19.
This is this is important. Everybody like that works in different countries is like, I've emailed that person 10 days ago and they never got back to me. I'm like, have you tried them on WhatsApp? So when I work internationally, I would say 90% of my planning is done on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
So it's sending even docs back and forth. That's how it's just culturally like people are not, the United States are not in, and that's not a lot of times these are event people. So they're on site doing events, right? So they're with smartphones. And so if their phone dings, they can look at their phone, but they're not checking their emails
No, they're
for
not.
their days. And so if I have a question I need, it's a WhatsApp call, it's a WhatsApp text.
Yeah.
That is just the way I've always planned. So like if you're a bride and a groom who are trying to plan and you're not going to have to hold of your vendors, WhatsApp numbers. That is
Yeah.
the way to communicate. Don't try the email game. It's so much faster and more efficient to have communication via WhatsApp.
All right. So number 20, we're on our very last one.
We have one more because you have one. Don't
Oh,
give it
that's
out.
right. That's right. I've got my secret one that I'm holding to the end.
Okay. So this is just more of someone on the emotional side of things. So I've been doing this for a very long time and I love what I do. And this moment will always be one that's going to get me no matter how long I do this job for. Maybe like 75 in a goddamn walker, getting brides and grooms down aisles. But I always make my couples, whoever is the person walking to that altar, whoever's waiting for the person, is to stop and take 3 very deep breaths. And in those 3 breaths, take in that moment. It's so magical. I mean, people get like deer in headlights and they rush down to their altars to get married. They, because they're uncomfortable, but just becoming centered, becoming present, and then looking, because people are sitting there watching you get married are there to celebrate your love. It's a pretty magical thing, right? So you just take those 3 deep breaths and you look around, you scan those people that are there looking at you, and you then look at that person waiting for you. And that moment will never repeat itself and it's magical. So don't rush it.
Oh,
Yeah.
You ended on such a good one. I love that. And it's so true because it's like it goes by in a blur. So to just take that moment and
Yeah.
just drink it in and maybe even do that like throughout the night, like every just once in a while, just stop where you're at. Even if you're in the middle of a conversation, like just
Yeah.
looking around the room
Take
and
deep
just
breaths.
taking in the moment because it goes by so fast. You've done so much to plan it, so much energy and money and resources have gone into it that to like feel like it just went by in a blur, you can
Yeah.
look back with disappointment if you
Yep.
aren't really truly present.
Yes.
So I love that one. I think that's such a good
I do it at
one.
every one of my rehearsals, and I almost always make someone cry, and like, you're making me cry. I go, hey, it's good. We're getting the tears out the day before. And
Exactly.
they always thank me. They're like, that
Yeah.
really my ceremony special for me. So
Yeah.
thank you. Yeah.
Such a good one.
And
All
I
right.
warn the person waiting for them too. I'm like, they're not hesitant about coming to you. They're just taking a moment.
Yeah, they're like, wait a minute, they get
Why did
cold
you
feet and then they're not coming. Is this
spend
Love
your
is
money?
Blind? Are they going to say yes or no? Is love blind?
They're aware. The
Yeah.
moment's happening. So,
Yeah, exactly.
and
Okay,
what's your
and my
bonus one?
my bonus one, you couldn't say it and you wouldn't think to say it because well, you would because it's what you do, but you wouldn't because you're not a self-serving person. And
People
that
pleaser.
is
Therapy for it.
it should be number 1, not number 21. If we're
Yeah.
going in priority,
Yeah.
hire a wedding planner. Like of all the things that you should do when you are planning your wedding, it's hire a wedding planner for the very reasons that like Aimee just listed all 1 through 20 because that's 25 years of
Yeah.
experience, 30
Yeah.
years of experience. Like you're going into this for the first time. These are things you can't know. And it's not because you're dumb or like it's because you've never been through it before. You just
Yeah.
don't know. And I think when you are hiring a wedding planner and especially someone like I'm just going to give you some kudos, Aimee, because like you really get it and you have a huge heart. All right, so I'm going to give Aimee's information here. She is destinationoccasions.com. That's the mothership of all of her other companies. So also she has mountainoccasions.com, tropicaloccasions.com, and Destination Desi. You can also follow like on social, and that is at Aimee Monihan. And all of this will be in the show notes. I know it's a lot of it, so don't worry. And then also at Tropical Occasions. Those are her 2 social handles. And then you can follow us online at destinationIdo.com. And we are at Destination I Do on all the social media outlets. And if you want to like, subscribe, follow this podcast, we would love it. If you have ideas for future shows, please feel free to email us info@destinationIdo.com. Thank you so much.
Have questions for me? DM me. I will give you answers.
She's the best. Oh my God, I love it. Yeah, and she actually will. She'll be like the person who responds. And thanks, Ames.
I love you so much.
See you guys next time.
Bye.